got God in the plan, yeah. Now I'm counting blessings, God, wealth in my hand. Used to dream small, now the mindset grand. Now I move like a boss, not a flash in the gram. It's a squad, not a clique, it's a mission with a vision. We building 7 figures, not just flexing for attention. Faith in the grind, purpose in the hustle. I don't chase cash, I attract it through muscle.
All right, well, stop waiting for the economy or a politician or a boss or a client to save you. Because the people waiting for things to go back to normal are the same people who are stuck 5 years from now. And today, we're going to confront 3 lies about money that are spreading all over social media right now. So lie number 1 we're going to cover today is the economy is broken and normal is never coming back. Number 2, professional athletes are rich the moment they make the league. And lie number 3. Now this might trigger some people. Poverty exists because rich people have too much money. What? Now, if that were true, America wouldn't have 22 million millionaires. I'm living proof of that. No college degree, went through bankruptcy, divorce, built businesses anyway. Now, a decamillionaire. I've spent 26 years across the table from families, kitchen tables and boardrooms talking about their personal finances, which means I've had a front row seat to the truth about money, not the internet, social media version, the real version, the version where people blame economy, they blame politicians, they blame millionaires and billionaires, they blame the system, but rarely do they look in the mirror. So today, we're going to watch 3 viral clips together. And after each one, I'm going to break down what's actually true about money. Because if you want financial control, you need to understand something that most people never do. That wealth isn't built by reacting to the economy. It's built by mastering the principles that work in every economy. How? Let's get started. 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Hey, 7 figures squad, what we go? Run it up, run it up.
That I've been getting the most over the past couple months or so is when will things return to normal in terms of the economy and money? And it's a really hard question to answer because I don't think I'm a financial expert, and the question that I've been getting the most over the past couple months or so is when will things return to normal in terms of the economy and money? And it's a really hard question to answer because I don't think the normal that people are thinking of will ever exist again. And I want to talk about 5 current things happening in the economy that has happened really in 2025 that I think will continue in 2026, and how to be thinking about kind of your money and the economy going forward. So I think the biggest story of 2025 was the prosperity paradox, or the vibe session, where the economy looked great on paper or in headlines, like the stock market did well, there's relatively low unemployment, there was positive GDP growth, but if you talk to most people, they were struggling financially. The prices, because of inflation going up, was really hurting a lot of people's wallets. We experienced a K-shaped recovery where rich people were doing great and everybody else was struggling. So the economy was quote unquote working on paper, but not for most people. And so then you get the second trend, which is the affordability lockout, where you have these high prices that have really not kept up with wage growth. And on top of that, while inflation has stayed pretty steady around between 2 or 3% over the past year, the actual cost for daily goods and services has gone up way more than that. If you think about groceries, car insurance, utilities, etc. And that disproportionately hurts people that are lower income because they are spending a larger amount of their paychecks on daily goods and services. So their budgets are getting hurt. They're feeling the stress more. And on top of that, the other big thing is the job market. And I think most people are aware of how just weird and frozen the job market has been. It's no hire and no fire, though layoffs are starting to pick up, which I think we'll continue to see into 2026. And on top of that, people that are looking for jobs right now know how horrible it feels with AI, where they're just applying to dozens and dozens of jobs and not hearing back. And it's just been kind of this overall shit show. And the third big story of 2025 that I think we will see continue into 2026 is the casinofication of everything. And I'm talking about prediction markets, sports betting, other types of gambling, etc. When wealth building becomes impossible or just feels very difficult for people, the system is not going to make it more accessible. It just encourages gambling. And I think we see this like mass normalization of gambling like activities, and how so much of investing or just making money these days is built around betting and taking these very high risk, potentially high reward activities, aka gambling. The fourth story is like bankification, which I've talked about before if you follow me. It's this idea that every company is a bank now, or is trying to offer financial services because the margins are very good. And we see this kind of almost like embedded finance in all of our activities, where you can now store your money in like
Like
almost
be your
every
own
company,
bank.
think about like Starbucks or like airlines. And a lot of it is designed to be extracting, to kind of separate you from your money. And I think we're going to see the continued use of these types of financial technology in this space, where people will have to navigate kind of all these different mini financial systems throughout their daily lives. And the fifth thing that kind of connects these four trends is extraction over sustainability. And if you think about like a lot of key aspects of our economy right now are very much built around extraction. And if you follow the kind of the paper trail of why it feels like a lot of things have gotten significantly worse over the past couple years, it can mostly be traced back to private equity and private equity model, and how private equity has infiltrated so many aspects of our daily life. And I would argue that so much of prosperity, if you think about the American dream, is very much policy-based, policy that encourages or gives people the ability to build wealth on their own terms. And so much of that policy has become dismantled, which obviously opens the door for extraction, because that is typically how capitalism is set up. So all of this is to say, will 2026 feel normal? No. I would say no, because a lot of these trends that I just pointed out are not temporary things that are happening. They are how the system is working right now. And so if you're curious to learn more about kind of these trends and what to actually do and how to actually survive.
All right. I love it. Good job, Hannah. Certified financial planner, financial expert. See, normal is not coming back. She's absolutely right. Normal is not coming back. And honestly, I agree. But here's the part that made me laugh. Let me chuckle a little bit. I've been hearing that conversation for over 20 years. Because I've been in this industry now for 26 years. And during that entire time, people kept asking me the same question. When will things go back to normal? 9/11 hit. When will things go back to normal? .com bubble. When will things go back to normal? Great recession. 401ks becoming 201ks and homes underwater. When are things going to go back to normal? And watching throughout the last 20 years, multiple cycles play out, I can tell you the answer. Ready for it? Come closer. Ready for it? Here we go. They never do. And every cycle in our economy creates a new normal. Just to give a little bit of context, to be fair with her, she's young, probably in her 20s, early 30s, and I respect younger voices paying attention to economic trends. But experience matters. Because over the last 26 years, I've watched the dot-com boom, the dot-com crash, the 9/11 recession, the housing bubble, the 2008 financial crisis, COVID shutdowns, the inflation surge. And every generation thinks that their moment is unprecedented. But the patterns repeat. Fear, speculation, technology disruption, policy changes. So to address her 5 claims, first one, she said the prosperity paradox. She said the economy looked good on paper, but people still struggle. Why? Very true, by the way. The GDP, our country's GDP can grow. The markets can rise. But if groceries, housing, she said car insurance and healthcare keep climbing, then the families feel squeezed. But the missing piece is this. Your household economy matters more than the national economy. Second one she talked about is the affordability to lock out. She said wages aren't keeping up with prices. Historically, they never have, which is why the wealth has been built, not through just wages alone. Wages is a secondary thing to building wealth through ownership, building wealth through equity, assets, acquisition, entrepreneurship. Because waiting for wages to catch inflation is not a wealth strategy. Quite frankly, in the last 30 years, income has not kept up with inflation. The frozen job market she talked about. She talked about hiring being weird. Also very true. But technological disruption always does that. I remember the Industrial Revolution, the Internet Revolution, the AI Revolution. Every transition creates winners and losers. And the winners are the ones who adapt faster. Talk about casinofication. I love this one. She mentioned the gambling culture, sports betting, prediction markets, high risk speculations, having people follow politicians and what they're trading. She's absolutely right. When people believe wealth is out of reach, man, they just shoot the dice, man, to go gamble. They start chasing lottery outcomes. They scratch. Right now, it's just less ghettofied being on an app. But gambling is not wealth building. Number 5, extraction economy. She blamed private equity and corporate extraction. Well, there's some truth there for sure. However, blaming systems alone won't solve personal finance problems because systems change. Her job is to be a financial expert to talk about these type of things, and she wants you to be on her newsletter, which is awesome, to create awareness. Because systems always change. But what I realized through 26 years, that discipline always wins. How? My personal observation here. Our career has been giving me some things that most commentators don't have, which is a front row seat to people's financial lives. And after thousands and thousands of conversations, I've learned something very uncomfortable. Sometimes the problem isn't the economy. Sometimes it's your priorities. It's your distraction. It's the complexity that you allow in your life. And so when you figure out those type of things, it allows you to transition a specific area of life where now you're asking for solutions. My encouragement to you, seek solutions. Don't just get caught up in the problems. Now, the next clip actually proves this perfectly because people assume certain careers automatically create wealth. I'm talking about professional athletes. I'm talking about being a celebrity. I'm talking about famous people. But the reality is very different. Now, let's watch what Cam Newton here has to say about being a pro athlete. Take a look at this.
Man, money gonna come. But on a real football team, bro, you probably got less than 10 people really getting to that generational bag. Less than 10 out of a 53-man roster.
He was one of them.
There's starving artists in the NFL that's like, yo, bro, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, and everybody think that I'm in the NFL. I'm rich. I'm not rich, bro. I'm making a very comfortable means, but it's not enough for me to just say, okay, I'm done with football. I can sit back and not do nothing for the rest of my life. And that's what people have to consider, fans included. It's like, yo, bro, I got drafted into the NFL when I was 21, 22 years old. I left the NFL when I was 32, 33. That's a 10-year span that has to sustain me. I'm 36 now. I will be 37 this year. I ain't going back to the league for what I know. I'm not getting those checks. So I would have had to think already as if I wasn't.
Hello, there's
to make
wisdom there.
decisions to say, hey, if y'all paying me $10, I want $15. They say everything is negotiations. We can't give you $15 because it exceeds our cap. Well, cool. What you're not going to do, another team will with my skill set. Bro, if you win, money going to come.
Whew, all right. What Cam Newton just said is something most fans just don't understand. On a 53-man NFL roster, less than 10 players are potentially getting generational money. The rest of the team, they're earning good income, but not lifetime wealth. Let's look at the numbers from my favorite team, the Chicago Bears. Bear down, baby. Top of the roster, you got Montez Sweat at $25 million. Jalen Johnson, about $25 million. Joe Thuney, all-pro, made it to the Pro Bowl. $21.5 million. Dayo Adengbo, about $20.5 million. Jonah Jackson, the right guard, $19.5 million. Now, those 5 players alone represent $111 million of payroll. So Cam Newton is absolutely right. A small handful of players earn the majority of the money on that roster. Here's the middle tier. You got players like Cole Kmet, Notre Dame, TJ Edwards, right? And of course, Mr. Fingernail Polish himself, Caleb Williams. Still great income. But here's the reality. The average NFL career lasts 3.3 years. So those contracts have to support someone for 40 to 50 years of life. The bottom tier of this roster, the bottom of the roster earns around $885,000 to $1 million, which sounds like a lot. But careers may last only a few seasons. And by the way, let me pause. Half their income is taken away to taxes because they're paid as an employee, which is why athlete financial statistics are extremely sobering. Check this out. About 15 to 16% go bankrupt within 12 years. Nearly 80% face financial stress shortly right after retirement. Just yesterday, this actually connects with this meeting I had on Zoom. On Zoom, we sat down with the rookie yesterday, NBA player in his first contract. Praise God, made it to the league. His financial advisor told him, save half of your first contract. Great advice. Put into these investments. I respect that discipline. But I asked him something deeper. Why did this financial advisor talk to you about life insurance first? You're married. Because before investments, you build the foundation of the financial house. Let me show you here real quick what we shared, just so you guys can see a little bit about an illustration we created just for him to understand. Right here. Boom. I don't know if you can see this. All right, there it is. At the bottom of this financial home, building on concrete, solid financial foundation, is life insurance and risk management. Life insurance, risk management. That's the first thing you build when building any financial house. And I don't care if you're working at Whole Foods, bagging groceries, to being a professional athlete or a celebrity or a streamer online. The first thing you build is risk management, and a lot of that risk management is done through insurance or specifically life insurance. Then after that, you've got in protection. He's got to protect you. For example, let me ask you this question. If you found an ATM at the bottom of your house, at the basement, you found an ATM at the basement of your house, and every time you put in the PIN code, he kicks out cash, kicks out cash, kicks out cash. Awesome, right? My question for you is, would you get insurance on that ATM machine? What do you think a lot of people say? Absolutely. Great. Well, let me argue this. Aren't you that ATM machine to your family? Aren't you that ATM machine to your home? Aren't you that ATM machine to the people that you love and care about? So why don't you insure you? Sat down with a professional athlete, just got out the league, made over $60 million in his entire career. Asked him one simple question. Do you have life insurance? He's got 4 kids, 5 kids. No, but he's got car insurance. He's got homeowners insurance. Got insurance on his cell phone, but doesn't protect the ATM machine of the house, which is them. So going back to this graph here, you got insurance, then long-term stability, planning for your long-term stability, and then you have a diversified market exposure, and then you have cash and capital ready for opportunities. That's how you build your financial home, because when the big bad wolf comes blowing by, how strong are your roots? Is your house made of straw? Is it made of sticks? Or is it made of bricks? I prefer bricks. It may not be sexy in the beginning, but you're going to be loving this when the winds of life come blowing by. Because this is the foundation to what you got to get going on. Because income, especially in the league, is temporary, but structure creates legacy. Now, if you have questions on this, you want to say, Matt, how do I get the right type of insurance? Put in the comment section, protect. I'll give you a free worksheet that will help you understand and create awareness about what you need to protect in your life. All right. Now, this next clip takes the conversation completely different. Let me get this up here. Completely different conversation. Last and final clip. Because some people believe the reason people struggle financially is because rich people have too much money. Check this out.
Poverty exists in the wealthiest country on earth is not because we can't feed the poor. It's because we can't satisfy the rich. Elon Musk is about to become the first trillionaire. He's about to make more money than every elementary school teacher in America combined. Do we really believe one man is worth more than every elementary school teacher? Why do we have a trillionaire when there are kids without enough to eat? Why do we have a trillionaire when cancer patients are going bankrupt? Why do we have a trillionaire when veterans are sleeping out on the street? I'm all for success, but this is not success. This is hoarding. What leads a person to accumulate more money than they could possibly spend in 100 lifetimes when there are people starving in this one. The reason poverty exists in the wealthiest country on earth is not because we can't feed the poor. It's because we can't satisfy the rich. But what we can do is tax trillionaires out of existence. And use that money to guarantee food, healthcare, and housing for every single American. The reason poverty exists.
Folks, stop blaming billionaires for problems you refuse to take responsibility to solve. Because if poverty exists is simply because rich people have too much money, then why does America have 22 million millionaires? Think about that. 22 million people in this country have already crossed the $1 million mark. That's about 40% of the world's millionaires living here in one country in the United States of America. And by the way, I was doing a quick chat search here in terms of what the United Nations say that will solve world hunger. You know what the number is? Here it is, $40 to $50 billion will solve world hunger. Elon Musk is on record saying, let me know where I need to cut the check to. Yes, Elon Musk said, let me know where to cut the check. I'll cut a check for $30, $40, $50 million. Who do I send it to? Crickets. So the real issue is the story we're telling ourselves about wealth. The clip we just watched is this politician here, James Tallarico, who's gaining a lot of popularity here in Texas. Wow, he's so well-spoken. Good-looking guy, so well-spoken. Speaks at a very good tone that people want to listen to. And before anyone jumps in the comments, let me make something very clear. This right now is not rage content. This is not political clapback. I've made money under Democrats. I've made money under Republicans. Yes, I've also lost money under both. So the White House has never determined whether I succeed financially. My decisions have. Now, here's a real question. The real question behind that video that you just watched is, does the existence of billionaires create poverty? Because that's the assumption being pushed. That if someone like Elon Musk wakes up one day and says, I want to be a millionaire, billionaire, trillionaire, that somehow means that teachers and veterans and cancer patients are suffering because of it, that his gain is somebody's loss. But that's not how real wealth creation works. This ain't the hood, that's the streets. Wealth is not a fixed pie. It's not like if one person gets a bigger slice, everyone gets less. Low. I believe in abundance because in a dynamic economy, wealth expands through innovation. It expands through productivity. It expands through value creation. That's how industries are created. That's how millions of jobs are created. That's how economic mobility happens. So let's look at some numbers right quick. America currently has 22 million millionaires. That's roughly 40% of the world's millionaires living, again, in one country. Now let's compare that to the rest of the world. Who's number 2 on the list? China, with roughly 6 million millionaires. And then you got Japan, then you got the United Kingdom, and then you got France. You can combine several of these countries together, and guess what, folks? They still don't match the number of millionaires in the United States combined. And it doesn't happen because rich people are hoarding everything. That happens because a system, a capitalist system, free enterprise system, rewards innovation, rewards entrepreneurship, rewards ownership and value creation. Let me make this personal. I don't have a college degree. At one point in my life, I went through Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Check it out, Orange County, California. Look it up. Paperwork was filed there in 1996. I didn't inherit wealth. I didn't have political connections. But today, I'm a decamillionaire. Not because government handed me something, but because I took responsibility for my life, every aspect of it. Building a business, building teams, improving my skills, staying disciplined when most everybody around me didn't want to stay disciplined. Me be la loca. What's the crazy things? Taco Tuesday, hump day Wednesday, a TGI Friday. What you doing on the weekend? There are millions of Americans just with stories like me. And those stories sadly don't trend online. Actually, we get trolled all the time. Resentment is on profiles like mine. Watching in comments right now. So instead of asking, how do I build wealth? More people should be asking, how do we take wealth from people who already built it? That's what's being asked today. How do we take wealth from people who built wealth? Let's take from them. See, that shift in thinking is dangerous because it replaces ownership with resentment and blame and entitlement. And resentment has never created prosperity. Your financial future is not decided in the White House. It's decided in your house, your discipline, your focus, your willingness to build something and stick with it. Because blaming millionaires and billionaires will never build wealth. Ownership will. Scripture says in Proverbs chapter 13, verse 11, wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. That's the formula. No get rich quick type of scheme. Stewardship, consistency, discipline. Folks, America is not perfect at all. This experiment, I was interviewing Mad Dog Mattis one year. He reminded me of what he calls America, what America has been called. He calls this the great experiment. America is the great experiment, and still a great experiment here going on 250 years. It remains one of the greatest wealth building, wealth creation engines this country in the history of humankind. So the real question is, why do billionaires exist? The real question is this: what are you building with the opportunity in front of you? And are you kicking down enough doors? Because there's no gatekeeping today. If you like, I can give you the alternative. And by the way, if you guys like what you see here, and alternative ways to see money and finances, conversation we have here on the 7 Figure Squad YouTube channel is different because we're merging faith and finance together and understanding money from a biblical perspective, a biblical world perspective. And when you look at this country and you see what we got going on in America, people from every background, people from every ethnicity, people from every walk of life, good job. So the real question today is what? Why do billionaires exist? The real question is, what are you doing right now? There's so much access to information today. So why aren't more people getting rich and wealthy? There's so much access to information today to get out of debt. So how people are still living in debt? There's so much access to information today to how to be financially free, financially independent. So how come more people aren't doing it? Because information alone won't save you. Just know this: economy will change, markets will change, technology will change. But the principles that build wealth will never, ever change. Earn it, protect it, own it, multiply it, and stay disciplined. Because the people who win financially don't wait for the system. They don't wait for a politician to smooth talk you to voting for them. Like they're going to change your life. People that change their life, they build command and control over their finances. That being said, guys, if you've watched this video up until the final end, put in the comment section below, responds. I want to see who watched it all the way to the end. And with that being said, if you watch this up to this point and you say, Matt, I need to connect with you, there's an app out there called Connect. You want me to have a guaranteed way to get back with you, your question, you want to do a one-on-one FaceTime, this app called Connect will make sure that happens. So scan this QR code and let's connect. I'm Connect. If you watch this until this point, say, Matt, I want to make sure I stay tuned in to this message. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel here, the 7 Figure Squad YouTube channel that helps you understand faith and finance and understanding from a biblical perspective, a biblical worldview that merges money and finances and your faith together. That being said, please put your biggest takeaway in the comment section below and make sure you check us out next Tuesday for another YouTube Live episode of Millionaire Response. That being said, from Dallas, Texas, I'm your money smart guy, and until we meet again, continue to live smart, continue to love smart.